Humans are real, Murloc gasped, staring wide-eyed at the irrefutable evidence displayed on the ancient holographic record. The young Rizian student's pulse quickened as the enormity of his discovery sank in. He had spent countless hours poring over the dusty archives of the Grand Galactic Library, chasing a myth that his peers and professors had dismissed as absurd. But now, the truth stared back at him, daring him to deny its existence. Murloc's obsession with the legendary humans had consumed him, driving him to neglect his studies and social life. He had followed the breadcrumbs of cryptic references and tantalizing clues, piecing together a puzzle that pointed to the humans' remarkable abilities and their mysterious disappearance from the galactic stage. His findings had been met with ridicule and scorn, but Murloc persisted, driven by an insatiable need to uncover the truth. As he delved deeper into the fragments of information, Murloc stumbled upon a revelation that sent a shiver down his spine. The coordinates of a remote, uncharted planet that might hold the key to the human's fate. Armed with this knowledge and fueled by a burning desire to unravel the mystery, Murloc secretly arranged an expedition, using his family's wealth and influence to acquire a state-of-the-art stealth ship. The journey to the planet was fraught with anticipation and uncertainty. As Murloc approached his destination, his sensors detected the unmistakable signs of a thriving civilization, with advanced technology that defied the primitive conditions he had expected. Landing in a remote area to avoid detection, Murloc ventured into the human settlement, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. What he discovered left him stunned. The humans not only existed but had managed to create a vibrant, self-sufficient community, despite their long isolation from the rest of the galaxy. Their settlement was a testament to their resourcefulness and adaptability, a fascinating blend of advanced technology and makeshift ingenuity. Murloc marveled at their resilience and determination, traits that seemed to set them apart from his own rigidly structured and technologically dependent society. But his clandestine exploration was cut short when a group of human soldiers, led by the grizzled veteran Stephen Ward, confronted him. Shocked and frightened, Murloc surrendered, only to find that the humans were equally surprised to learn that the galaxy believed them to be extinct. As he was taken into custody, Murloc realized that his discovery had the potential to upend the established order of the galaxy and reshape the future of both humans and Rizians alike. The stage was set for a thrilling adventure that would test Murloc's loyalties, challenge his preconceptions, and ultimately lead him to question everything he thought he knew about his place in the universe. Murloc sat in a small, sparsely furnished room, his heart racing as Commander Stephen Ward and Lieutenant Amanda Nichols entered. The human soldiers regarded him with a mix of caution and curiosity, their eyes studying his alien features and advanced technology. "Start talking," Commander Ward ordered, his voice gruff but not entirely hostile. "Who are you, and what brings you to our colony?" Murloc took a deep breath, his translator implant working to convey his words in the human's language. "My name is Murloc, and I'm a student from Rizia. I've spent years researching the existence of humans, and I came here to learn the truth about your people." Lieutenant Nichols raised an eyebrow. "You risked your life and traveled across the galaxy just to satisfy your curiosity?" Murloc nodded, his eyes shining with genuine fascination. "The galaxy believes humans to be extinct, but I never accepted that. I had to know the truth." As the interrogation continued, Commander Ward and Lieutenant Nichols began to see the sincerity in Murloc's words. His lack of malicious intent became apparent, and the commander's stance softened slightly. "Lieutenant Nichols, I'm assigning you to be Murloc's guide and minder," Commander Ward instructed. "Show him around the colony, learn what you can about the state of the galaxy, and keep a close eye on him." Lieutenant Nichols nodded, her expression a mix of intrigue and wariness. "Yes, sir." Over the next few days, Murloc found himself immersed in the daily life of the human colony. Lieutenant Nichols led him through the settlement, introducing him to the various members of the community. He marveled at the ingenuity of the human engineers, led by Chief Engineer Jack Hawkins, who had managed to reverse engineer and improve upon salvaged alien technology. Despite the limited resources and isolation, the humans had created a vibrant, close-knit community that valued individual freedom, creativity, and resilience. Murloc couldn't help but contrast this with the rigidly structured and technologically dependent society he had grown up in on Rizia. As he spent more time with Lieutenant Nichols and the other colonists, Murloc began to form genuine friendships. He found himself drawn to their warmth, humor, and drive in the face of adversity. However, a growing sense of unease gnawed at him, knowing that his presence had inadvertently put the entire colony at risk. Unbeknownst to Murloc, his Rizian sponsors had been monitoring his activities from afar. The ruthless CEO Zorgax, driven by a desire to exploit the human colony for its unique resources and technology, had dispatched a team of heavily armed mercenaries, led by the cunning and lethal commander Thraxus, to track down Murloc and seize control of the settlement. As tensions rose and the threat of an impending clash loomed on the horizon, Murloc found himself at the center of a conflict that would determine not only his own fate, but the future of the human colony and the galactic balance of power. He knew that he would soon have to make a choice between his loyalty to his own people and his growing attachment to the humans who had welcomed him into their midst. Commander Ward and his soldiers, alerted to the approaching Rizian threat, began to prepare for the confrontation. They worked tirelessly alongside Murloc and the colony's civilians to fortify their defenses and devise a plan to outwit the mercenaries and protect their home. The air crackled with tension as the countdown to the inevitable showdown began, and Murloc steeled himself for the challenges that lay ahead. The colony buzzed with frantic activity as Murloc and his human allies prepared for the impending Rizian attack. Chief Engineer Jack Hawkins directed a team of workers, their faces streaked with sweat and grime as they welded salvaged metal plates into makeshift barriers. "We need those fortifications up yesterday," Hawkins barked, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of construction. Nearby, Commander Stephen Ward and Lieutenant Amanda Nichols drilled a group of civilians in basic combat maneuvers. The air crackled with tension as inexperienced hands fumbled with unfamiliar weapons. Murloc's mind raced as he pored over schematics of Rizian technology. An idea sparked, and he rushed to find Commander Ward. "Commander, I think I have a solution," Murloc said, his translator implant struggling to keep up with his excited words. "We can use your communication array to generate an electromagnetic pulse. It would disable the Rizians' advanced weaponry." Ward's eyes narrowed. "How do we pull that off?" "We'll need to plant signal amplifiers outside the colony walls," Murloc explained. "It's risky, but it's our best chance." After a moment of consideration, Ward nodded. "Nichols, assemble a team. You're going with Murloc." Under the cover of darkness, Murloc led Lieutenant Nichols and a small group of human soldiers through the rugged terrain surrounding the colony. The night air was thick with tension as they carefully placed each signal amplifier. Suddenly, a twig snapped. Murloc froze, his heart pounding. A group of Rizian scouts emerged from the shadows, weapons trained on them. "Down!" Nichols shouted, diving for cover as energy bolts sizzled through the air. The humans returned fire, their primitive projectile weapons catching the Rizians off guard. Murloc's mind whirled, analyzing the situation. He spotted a weakness in the Rizians' formation and signaled to Nichols. Working in tandem, they outflanked the scouts. The skirmish was brief but intense, ending with the Rizian squad neutralized and the humans victorious. Breathing heavily, they completed their mission and raced back to the colony. They arrived just as Commander Thraxus's main force appeared on the horizon, a sea of glinting metal and pulsing energy weapons. Thraxus's voice boomed across the battlefield. "Surrender the colony and hand over the Rizian traitor. This is your only warning." Commander Ward stepped forward, his voice steady and defiant. "We will not bend to your threats. This is our home, and we will defend it." With a roar of fury, Thraxus ordered his forces to attack. As the Rizians charged forward, Chief Engineer Hawkins activated the EMP. A wave of blue-white energy swept across the battlefield, and the Rizian weapons flickered and died. Confusion rippled through the Rizian ranks as their advanced technology failed them. The human defenders seized the moment, pouring out of the colony with their makeshift weapons. Murloc found himself in the thick of the fight, side by side with Nichols and Ward. The battle was chaotic and brutal. The humans' knowledge of the terrain and their improvised tactics gave them an edge, but the Rizians' superior numbers began to tell. Just as it seemed the humans might prevail, a shadow fell across the battlefield. Murloc looked up to see a massive Rizian warship descending from orbit. Commander Thraxus had called for reinforcements. As the new Rizian forces joined the fray, Murloc realized they needed a new plan. His eyes locked on the looming warship, and an audacious idea formed. "Commander Ward," he shouted over the din of battle, "we need to take that ship." Ward's eyes widened, then narrowed with purpose. "You're insane," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "I like it. What's the plan?" Murloc quickly outlined his strategy. Minutes later, a small team consisting of Murloc, Ward, Nichols, and a handful of the colony's best fighters were racing towards a hidden hangar. Inside, they found a battered but functional shuttle, the product of years of secret restoration work. As they boarded, Murloc felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. He knew that what they were about to attempt could change everything, not just for the colony, but for the entire galaxy. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and they shot into the sky, heading straight for the heart of the Rizian warship. As they approached, Murloc steeled himself for what was to come. The real battle, he realized, was just beginning. The shuttle shuddered as it docked with the massive Rizian warship. Murloc's heart raced as he exchanged glances with Commander Ward and Lieutenant Nichols. The small team moved swiftly through the airlock, their footsteps echoing in the metallic corridors. "This way," Murloc whispered, gesturing towards a nearby terminal. His fingers flew over the alien interface, bypassing security protocols with practiced ease. "The bridge is 2 levels up." As they ascended, alarms blared through the ship. "They've detected us," Ward growled, readying his weapon. The team burst onto the bridge, catching the Rizian crew off guard. In the ensuing firefight, Murloc dove for the main computer console. "Cover me!" he shouted, his mind racing as he sifted through the ship's databanks. Nichols fired her weapon, downing a Rizian officer. "Hurry, Murloc! We can't hold them off forever!" Murloc's eyes widened as he uncovered file after file of damning evidence. "It's all here," he breathed. "The conspiracy, the cover-up, everything." Ward grunted as he took down another Rizian. "Great, now let's get out of here." They fought their way back to the shuttle, Murloc clutching a data drive containing the precious information. As they disengaged from the warship, energy blasts rocked their small craft. "We need a place to hide," Nichols said, her voice tight with tension. "Somewhere outside Rizian control." Murloc nodded, his mind racing. "I know someone. A scientist named Varinia. She's been questioning the official narrative for years." Ward raised an eyebrow. "Can we trust her?" "We don't have much choice," Murloc replied, inputting coordinates into the shuttle's navigation system. As they sped away from the Rizian warship, Murloc sent a coded transmission to Varinia. Hours later, their battered shuttle touched down on the icy surface of Kryton. Varinia met them at the entrance to her hidden lab, her eyes gleaming with excitement behind thick goggles. "Welcome, truth seekers," she exclaimed, ushering them inside. "Let's see what you've uncovered." As Varinia examined the evidence, her expression grew grave. "This confirms everything I've suspected," she said, her voice low. "The Rizian government, the military-industrial complex, they're all involved." "But why?" Nichols asked, her brow furrowed. Varinia's lips tightened. "To prevent humanity from becoming a threat to Rizian dominance in this sector of the galaxy." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Ward spoke up. "So what do we do now?" Murloc straightened, his eyes blazing with commitment. "We expose the truth, to everyone." Varinia nodded, a sly smile spreading across her face. "I have just the thing, the central communication array on Trizor. If we can access it, we can broadcast this evidence across all frequencies." "That's suicide," Ward muttered. "The capital planet will be heavily guarded." "Not if we use these," Varinia said, producing a set of data chips. "Falsified Rizian identities. They'll get you past the initial security checkpoints." As they began to formulate their plan, Murloc felt a mix of excitement and dread. He knew the risks were enormous, but the potential payoff was even greater. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Days later, their team split up as they approached Trizer. Ward led a group to create a diversion, while Murloc and Nichols made their way towards the towering spire of the central communication array. Their false identities held up at first, allowing them to penetrate deep into the facility. But as they neared the core, alarms began to blare. "They've made us!" Nichols shouted, drawing her weapon as Rizian guards poured into the corridor. Murloc ducked behind a console, his heart's pounding. "We're so close," he said through gritted teeth. "We can't fail now." As energy blasts sizzled around them, Murloc and Nichols fought their way forward. Members of their infiltration team fell, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge of what was at stake. Finally, they reached the array's central control room. Nichols held off the guards while Murloc rushed to the main terminal. His fingers flew over the interface, uploading the data virus that would give them control. "How much longer?" Nichols called out, her voice strained as she returned fire. "Almost there," Murloc replied, his eyes fixed on the progress bar. With seconds to spare, the virus took hold. "We're in!" As Murloc initiated the data burst, he could almost feel the ripples of shock spreading across the galaxy. Every world, every citizen would soon know the truth about humanity's survival and the conspiracy to keep it hidden. But there was no time to celebrate. As the last of the data streamed out, the door to the control room burst open. Rizian elite guards stormed in, weapons raised. Murloc and Nichols exchanged a look. They had succeeded in their mission, but now they faced a new challenge: survival. Murloc and Nichols stood back to back, weapons raised as the Rizian elite guards surrounded them. The air crackled with tension and the acrid smell of ionized particles from energy weapons. "Well," Nichols said, her voice tight but determined, "I guess this is where our luck runs out." Before Murloc could respond, a familiar voice cut through the standoff. "Lower your weapons, all of you!" The guards hesitated, then parted to reveal Commander Zorgax, Murloc's former mentor. His eyes were cold as he surveyed the scene. "So the prodigal son returns," Zorgax said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "And he's brought friends." Murloc's hearts raced as he assessed their options. The data had been transmitted, but their escape routes were cut off. He locked eyes with Zorgax, searching for any hint of the mentor he once knew. "It's over, Zorgax," Murloc said. "The truth is out there now. You can't contain it." Zorgax's face twisted into a sneer. "You naive fool. Do you think a little data leak will bring down centuries of order? You've accomplished nothing but your own downfall." With a wave of his hand, Zorgax ordered the guards to restrain Murloc and Nichols. As they were led away, alarms blared throughout the facility. The central communication array had gone into lockdown. Hours later, Murloc found himself in a stark interrogation room. His wrists were bound to the table, and his body ached from the rough treatment he'd received. The door slid open, and Zorgax entered, flanked by 2 guards. "I trusted you, Murloc," Zorgax said, his voice low and dangerous. "I saw potential in you. And this is how you repay me? By betraying your own kind?" Murloc met his gaze steadily. "I didn't betray our kind. I exposed a lie that's been suffocating us all." Zorgax hit his fist on the table. "You've doomed us. The humans were contained, managed. Now you've unleashed chaos." As Zorgax ranted, Murloc's mind raced. He needed to buy time, to find a way out. "What about the other species?" he asked. "Were they to be contained as well?" A flicker of surprise crossed Zorgax's face before he could mask it. Murloc pressed on. "This was never just about humanity, was it? You had bigger plans." Before Zorgax could respond, the room shook with a distant explosion. Alarms blared anew, and the guards' communicators crackled with urgent chatter. Zorgax's eyes narrowed. "It seems your human friends are causing more trouble. We'll continue this discussion later." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Don't get any ideas, Murloc. Your part in this story is over." As the door slid shut behind Zorgax, Murloc tested his restraints. They held firm, but his mind was already formulating a plan. Whatever was happening beyond these walls, he needed to be ready to seize any opportunity that presented itself. In another part of the facility, Lieutenant Nichols sat in her own cell, listening to the chaos unfolding around her. She smiled grimly. The revolution they'd sparked was just beginning, and she had no intention of missing it.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.